Hello and welcome to the Blackout podcast where we get to talk to amazing people who do amazing things. And today I'm so happy to have my friend, the co-founder of Ventura Collective. Thanks for coming to the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here, so thank you.
Oh man, I've been dying to have this conversation, but let's start from when we first talked. You're in Mexico. How's Mexico?
Awesome. Despite all the bad news that people get, in Canada about Mexico, Mexico is really awesome and with beautiful people. It's a gorgeous place. And every time I visit, it's so hard to come back. But yeah, we have our problems just like everyone, every country. But yeah, always hard to come back.
So, did you grow up there? Or?
Yeah, I was born and raised there. I moved away when I finished university in 2000. Oh, I'm going to age myself, but that's okay. 2003, that's when I was here for 6 months, studying a business course and, trying to perfect my English.
What did you decide to come study business, and what was your university degree in Mexico?
So my university degree in Mexico was marketing and international business.
Oh.
And part of the requirements to kind of like graduate it, you needed to have kind of like a percentage of English, which I did, but I felt that I needed more time to speak. Like I was really good at grammar and all that, but the speaking part was a struggle because it wasn't like now that you can just watch a video and, be on TikTok and you listen to English, right? So I grew up watching Friends, and that's kind of like I learned awesome, I learned gorgeous, like these words that, they don't teach you in school. And when I moved to Halifax, it's so funny that I moved to Halifax. I wanted to go to Victoria, but I ended up here in Halifax. That's where kind of like my English came through because I knew all the theory of it, and I just needed to speak more. And being here, you had to, right? Because there was no one else to speak Spanish to.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's, you know what? I think, I respect people that, it's like you grew up speaking Spanish?
But it is Mexican because it's different than other Spanish.
Oh, okay. Speaking that, but then you have to learn a new language. I'm like, when a friend's like, oh, my English is not good, I'm like, I don't even understand one word in your own language. I think I know agua. That's
a good one.
Because when you're in Mexico, you drink water all the freaking time. But okay, so what did you want to be growing up? Like, what did you want to be?
It's funny because we used to play, me and my brothers, I have two brothers, we used to play to be licenciados, which it was kind of like a business person. Oh. And it was like, you're a licenciado or blah, 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 blah. So that was kind of my thing. And then when it was time to choose my career, I was finishing high school, kind of like I didn't know what to do. And that year, this bachelor, this career opened up, like a marketing and international business. And I was like, oh, that sounds good. That sounds kind of like something that I would like to do. And I loved it. Now I shouldn't say that. I was about to say I'm not doing that, but actually I am doing kind of that. It's related and actually helps me do my current job. So yeah.
So you were here for 6 months, and then you went back to Mexico?
Oh yeah. Okay. I went back to Mexico.
And then you just started working right away? Were you?
When I went back to, yes, I actually worked for a huge company in Mexico called FEMSA, which they're the owner, they used to be the owners of like a bunch of beers, like Sol. I don't know if you're familiar with Sol beer, kind of like Dos Equis, like huge.
Oh! So I know Dos Equis because of the ad of the, most interesting man in the world.
Yeah, everybody knows. So they were the owners of that before they sold it to Heineken. So I was doing marketing for the region, and that was very exciting. And then I met my husband, which is from Halifax, and he moved to Mexico. He was there for a year. We married, And then we moved back to Canada. We went to Alberta we were there for 6 years.
Well, how was Alberta? I hear that winter there is like insane.
The winds?
The winter?
Oh yeah, the winter it is. I mean,
Right. Especially you're from Mexico.
I'm a Mexican girl, and from the coast from the Caribbean side of Mexico, right,
Oh, okay.
which is like plus 40s in the summer.
Oh.
And I think my parents came to visit us one day, and they went from plus 35 to minus 35 in 12 hours. So that was like insane. But yeah, I mean, there's no messing around with the winter in Alberta.
Like,
It's so
I was
cold.
told, you have to put something in your car and plug it in, or you won't be able to start your car. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Thankfully, we had
underground.
underground.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I couldn't. One thing that I couldn't understand there, people having garages and then parking their cars outside and put, can I say crap? Is that allowed?
Yes.
And put crap in the garage. And I was like, do you see that? Like, what? I just couldn't understand.
Right. Oh my God. Okay, so you were in Alberta for about
6 years.
oh wow. Okay, yeah. And then moved back to
US.
Halifax. Oh, to the US.
For 10 years.
How was living in the US? What city in the US?
Where I was in 2 different cities. First, we went to California, which at the beginning we moved in
Isn't that like
2011.
kind of Mexico and stuff?
Yeah, there's a lot of Mexican culture there. That used to be part of Mexico for some people who don't know. Really like California, Texas, Arizona. That used to be part of Mexico. That's another story that we'll talk about another time. But yeah, so lots of Mexican culture there. At the beginning, it was pretty great. We didn't need winter boots or winter coats, so it was very good. And then 2015 came around, and that's where things really changed. For me.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. What's with the government, with the presidency switching?
So Trump announced his candidacy in 2015, and just the climate changed immediately. It just felt just very different, and I think especially for the Latino community, Latinx, Latine, for those to be inclusive of everyone, it was very palpable, that change, right? I mean, there's always been the rhetoric of, these illegal immigrants coming to take our jobs and all that. Like that country will fall apart without immigrants, right? So, and that was very transformational for me, because I realized my own internalized racism against my own people, against, like things that I didn't even realize that I had. And then when I heard them, the way that they were weaponized and, to vilify people, I was like, oh, I've been doing some of this. I've been the perpetrator of these things. So it was very, very, I think that's the one thing that I can be thankful of, that time, that it really made me reflect on how that rhetoric of the undocumented immigrant, it's in Mexico as well. Because if you are the privileged in Mexico, you will never leave Mexico. Why would you ever leave Mexico, right? You have everything there. Like, it's beautiful. If you have money, you have a good job. Like, it's amazing. But, the fact that people have to leave, their homes, their family and everything to be mistreated. And, not only by, like the government and like employers, but by your own people. Because like, why would you leave your country to be treated as a third-class citizen, right? Because they had to. It's not that they really want to leave everything behind and leave their kids. Some people go and leave their kids and they don't see them until they're grown-ups. So I learned a lot about that. I got involved in grassroots organizations. I just started this journey of unlearning. And I think that's been ever since, right? I now understand everything that is being taught to us, not only throughout the years, but through generations.
So this not so good thing actually ended up being kind of good for you, because it also led to Ventura in a way.
Yes, yes, later on, because that happened in 2016, and Ventura was founded in 2022. In 2022, but yeah, like all
That
those
journey,
steps
yeah.
exactly led to finally creating Ventura, which has been kind of like one of the best things that have happened to me.
So let's talk about Ventural then. So 2022 came.
Yes.
What made you decide to start a company? Because like then, what were you doing? And like and you said, okay, I'm gonna start this collective.
So I started a couple of businesses back in the US because for many years I couldn't work. My husband had a work visa, but I didn't. So I was kind of like just the partner visa. And, that led me to volunteer and do, you said, grassroots organizations and all that. And then when we got the green card, like I started a couple of businesses. Then the pandemic came and kind of like everything went to the side, right? But because of the pandemic, that was another transformational part in my life because we were already moved from California to Washington State. And I live in a predominantly white area, but with a group of BIPOC people that were so close and organized and doing the work to really advance equity, diversity, and inclusion in the area. Mm-hmm. So they embraced me and they welcomed me and they loved me and they saw me. And they said, we need you. We need everyone. And we need you to do your inner work and your own learning so you don't keep perpetuating systems of oppression, right? So that was very transformational. So when the pandemic happened, we decided to move away from the US and come back to Canada. As I mentioned, my husband is from Halifax. We first went to Ontario, and I took a certification on equity, diversity, and inclusion with the University of Cornell University. And that's where I met my co-founder, Ana Maria Desmasion Cornejo. Shout out to my girl. And we started talking about our experience as Latinas in Canada and feeling invisible. Because when we talk about, even when they talk about immigrants and diversity in Canada, people from Latin America are never mentioned, right? Like we are part of the others, right? And the Latinx community really got like the short end of the stick during COVID because a lot of temporary workers come to Canada to work, and they are from Latin America and they are from the Caribbean. And the percentage of people of Latin American descent in Canada is around 3%. And the amount of people that died through COVID was like 25%.
That is wow.
Yes. So those are things that we started learning, and we started like getting together every month, then every 2 weeks, then every week, and we started saying like, let's start talking with organizations. Like we need to bring this to the forefront. It's like, we're not saying that we need to take away any attention from other communities. It's just to bring up our community as well, right? So we started meeting with different organizations. We talked to the Canadian Women's Foundation. We talked about with the Canadian, what's it called? CCDI is a Canadian for Diversity and Inclusion. I can't remember the whole name right now. So we started talking like UN, like we started talking with different organizations, and they were kind of asking us, okay, can you help us? Can you tell us about this? And we're like, well, we kind of, like, we don't have, we're just two people doing this. And that's where it's like, well, maybe we do need to create something that is, that it can help organizations do this. And the first thing the both of us said, but first we need to build community, because we do not belong to every community. Even within the Latinx community, we're not a race. We are ethnicity, right? So in the Latinx community, we have Afro-Latinos. We have people of indigenous descent that don't even identify as Latinos, but they identify with their community, right? So we have Asian Latinos. We have all kinds of Latinos, right? And we do not belong to every community. So we need to talk to people and learn about their experiences.
That's a lot of work, though. That's a lot of work to do that.
Yes.
Okay.
That is it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was important. That is kind of like the North Star of Ventura Collective. We are not silos. All our experiences and our struggles are interconnected. So if we're not talking to each other, we can't advance equity, diversity, and inclusion. And that's why we call it a collective, even though Ana Maria and I are the co-founders. Like, we work with people from different communities. When we get hired, let's say we get hired for an organization and they want to talk about, Black History Month. I'm not going to stand in front of people to talk about Black History Month. That would be very wrong. So we hire people to come do that, and we pay justly. I would say fairly, but I don't like that word. I like to say we pay it in a just way.
Why is that important to you? So I know that, the thing in the US happened and it made you do all this work, but like, you could have done the work because it's personal, right? Like, I'm doing the thing, I'm working on myself, all this thing that's happened, like you said, is internal actually. It could have ended there, but why was it important for you to also share it?
I think because I get energized by action, and that is a good thing, and sometimes it's not a good thing. Because sometimes you can't do it all. Sometimes you can't do it all, right? Like, you do need other people to, and sometimes with systems of oppression that are everywhere all the time, and you feel so helpless, right? Like, you want to do it, but you can't. So for me, if something is important for me, I have to act. So this was a way to act, right? In ways that I can manage and that I can bring others along with me. So community is huge in Ventura Collective, right? Like, communities were constantly, as I said, talking to people, creating circles for people to join so they don't feel alone. In this work specifically, there's a lot of people of the global majority or BIPOC, depends on, how you know the term, that do this work. And sometimes they do it for free, right? They're chosen because they fit the part. And there's a lot of harm in that because they don't get support, right? So they have to do it on the volunteer basis. So they don't get paid. It's on top of their work. They have to do it. And on top of that, they don't get the support. They're constantly being told that that's not enough, or all of that. So part of the things that we do in Ventura is we have a monthly circle with people that are doing equity, diversity, and inclusion come, and they can vent if necessary. If something big in society happened, we all cry together. We can decompress. It's I think that's my favorite part. Like, I wish we didn't have to care about making any kind of money so we can survive, because my favorite part is actually supporting others doing this work.
That is the thing, though, because you mentioned earlier that some people do the work on volunteer basis. I mean, when you are doing something that is important to you, you love, and you are doing this, there is a part of you that is just like, I'm happy doing this. How do you, I guess, help people navigate that whole, yes, you love doing this, but you still need to pay your mortgage, you still need to pay for all those things. Like, how do you navigate that?
So we always say, and actually that's another policy of Ventura Collective, we do not accept volunteers, no matter how passionate people are about what we do, because it's labor. And it's doing it for free. It shouldn't, no labor should be done for free. Like, we have a big problem with charity organizations that, because they know that this is very important for people, they just ask for free labor. And really, who usually does this free labor? And who are the executives who get paid? So we have so many people that because they love what we do, it's like, can I please? I just want to do, I just want to fall. It's like, no, like we can't, anybody who engages with Ventura Collective gets paid for their time. We do not accept any labor for free.
Okay. Wow. What's the story behind the name too? Like, how did you come up with the name?
So Ventura in Spanish means the kind of like reaching the state of happiness and satisfaction.
Oh.
So you're kind of like reach your dream, and that spoke to us so much. In collective, because we want to work in collective. So Ventura is in Spanish and collective is in English, which we work in both languages. I think I mentioned to you previously, we started recording. Both Ana Maria and myself are Latinas. She's from Peru, I'm from Mexico. And we have indigenous ancestry, but we couldn't call ourselves indigenous.
Oh yeah, that threw me off a little bit, right? Because like it's in your blood, like.
It is in our blood, but we did not, we are the privilege in our countries. So if I go to Mexico, I'm the most relaxed person that you will meet because I don't have to worry about people asking me about my accent, where I'm from. Like I get the door open wherever I go. I'm a very privileged person in Mexico. My experience completely changed when I moved to Canada and the US because I was immediately racialized. But my experience in Mexico is of pretty much of a white person in the US or Canada. Of course, there's always someone that is blonder and blue-eyed and all that, and they're rich and they will have a better experience, but I'm very privileged in Mexico. So for me to come and say, I'm an indigenous woman, that carries a lot, right? And in here especially, I could get access to things that don't belong to me because I was not in the struggle. Wow. And it will be horrible to take it. So as a person, I'm proud of my indigenous ancestry. I'm actually in the process of respectfully remembering my ancestry, but I will never claim it because it's not for me to claim.
That is mind blowing because there are people. So like some years ago, there was someone that actually, I think they made a show about indigenous people saying they're indigenous, but turned out they're not indigenous at all. But you actually have indigenous one. You're like, I'm not even, holy shit. That's, wow.
Yeah,
wow,
and
wow.
and not trying to be disrespectful to my ancestry, but the opposite, right? Because I don't even know enough to say, like my grandparents spoke Mayan. Because I'm from the Mayan region of Mexico.
With the pyramids and stuff?
Yes. So gorgeous.
Chichen Itza.
Chichen Itza,
Yeah.
Ishmael. There's so many.
Yeah,
It's mind blowing when you go there, and it's just, but it's like the extraction of that culture, right? Like the extraction of to capitalize that culture. So that I will be doing that. Right? Because I was not part of the community. I'm not part of the struggle. Nobody is coming to me and said, like, you can't come in because you're indigenous.
Where does that come from, though? Like, it's not something you learned as a kid. Like, why? Where is that from? Where is that? I guess I can't find the word, but what is the motivation behind that? Like, it's not something that someone taught you. Like, it's just a personal thing. So, where did it come from?
Which part?
The whole I can't own this.
It's actually listening to indigenous peoples.
Oh.
Listen, and that's, I think, if I can give an advice to anyone watching this, is to listen to communities. Listen to communities that are historically marginalized and presently marginalized, because they're telling us how we can be supportive and how can be allies. And I hate the word allies because ally feels so removed from this. We are a collective, right? Where our struggles are interconnected. So it should be more like a community. But listening to people is how you can say, you know what? if I start claiming, there's so many people who say like, oh no, you should be claiming it. You're indigenous and all that. It's like, no,
Right.
it will be so hurtful to people who have been in the struggle, who have been working towards liberation, for me to say like, oh, I discovered that I have whatever percentage of religion, right? Even though, you know, it could easily be like a huge part of my ethnicity, right? But it wouldn't be right. Again, I'm proud of it. I'm in that journey to remember and respectfully remember it. But I actually saw in this week of Truth and Reconciliation, being Monday, September 30th, there was the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in Canada did a series of workshops, and one of them was about pretendians. So people,
right.
People saying that they have ancestry, and some of them have zero, like not even close. But anyway, and they were saying, what about the people? Because they were saying like we shouldn't be claiming it if you haven't been in community, you don't know anything. And some people ask, how about the people who got taken away from the community, from the scoop, you know, the 60 scoops and then the 80 scoops and all that. And they said something that really stuck with me and told me that I'm in the right way. Is that like, if you really want to reconnect, you wouldn't do it for a scholarship, or you wouldn't do it for a job, or you wouldn't do it for this and that, for economic gain. You will do it because you really want to reconnect with your ancestry, with your, you know, everything. So that really stuck with me, because that is what I want. I don't want to take away from the community. They had historically been taken away, but I just want to witness. I want to make space. I want to promote. I want to uplift all these people while I respectfully reconnect with my own ancestry.
So what does the collective do then? Like, you know, because we've talked about all these amazing, like, personal journey, but what does the Ventura Collective do?
So we're a consulting company. So we're Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Consulting Collective. And one thing that we want for organization is to offer systemic solutions to systemic problems. And part of doing that is bringing the professionalization. Oh, that's a hard word for me. Professionalization of equity, diversity, and inclusion. So for the longest time has been, oh, you know, like we feel so bad, we want to help people, so we'll do this course so we can learn to be less racist or less sexist or less whatever system of oppression is there. When we are still have behind all these policies, processes within organizations that are extremely negative for people of the global majority, for disabled people, for LGBTQI+. So what we bring is an international framework called the ISO 30415. I know it's not a very sexy name by any means, but that's how the International Standard Organization names their standards, with numbers. So in 2021, they released, after 10 years of working with to develop this standard, they released in 2021 the Diversity and Inclusion International Standard ISO 30415. So we base all our services on that standard. And we don't only do courses, which are important, but they're just a little part of equity, diversity, and inclusion. Really what it should be, companies and organizations should be doing is looking at their company from governance all the way to suppliers and see how are we perpetuating systems of oppressions. What are the policies that we can put in place? What are the processes that we can put in place to avoid keep, perpetuating the systems, hurting our employees and the community?
Wow, that's amazing. Something happened. So 2020, George Floyd, everything happened, COVID. And then the pendulum swung one way. And it's like, oh, there's this thing. And now this is 4 years after? Like the pendulum has swung the other way. Like, what do you think is responsible for that? And how can it be, I guess, better managed? because like all those things are kind of flown out of offices and opportunities and grants organizations. Is like, we've done enough. 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. We have solved it now. You know what is not surprising? First of all, diversity, equity, and inclusion, diversity, inclusion, social justice, however you want to call it, has been here forever. Since the moment these lands were colonized, resistance was in place, right? So it's nothing new. And after the civil rights movement, it kept going. So this is not something that is going to go away. It's going to go away in organizations that they only did it for the PR. They only did it for that moment. But we know organizations that are in it for the long run. And those are the organizations that we want to work with. We don't want to work with I just want to have the black square in my social media or the DEI statement in my website. There's a lot of that. And those are the ones that we see on the news, right? Like so-and-so company did this, and now they're cutting all of this. This, want it or not, diversity is a reality. You can't change that. And the new generation of people are demanding that from organizations. It's not like, if you want, no, they want to see companies, organizations actively working on this. So if you want to have the best employees, the best talent, the best brains in your organization, you better be working on this already, right? And with an international standard, it goes beyond just bringing people of diverse backgrounds. It really is about creating an organization that is going to withstand whatever winds are coming from one side or the other side or whatever is happening. So it's actually to protect your own organization.
Wow.
Right? So, yeah.
Yo, we have to do this again. Like, I have so many questions, but I love letting guests go with this question. So, we've touched on a lot, but I'm curious though, what is something that happened like before you turned 17 that plays a huge role in the person you are today?
I think I tried to run for school council.
Oh.
And that was not pleasant.
No?
And no, because it was mostly guys running. And, I think I ran when I was it's a little bit different in Mexico. In Mexico, it's like high school is year 1 to 3. So you kind of like, it's not a continuation of middle school. So I was, I think, in second year of high school. And I was supporting someone else, this guy. And then I was like, why don't I run? Why don't I do this? Like, I have so many good ideas and all that. And I had so many people wanting my help. And, so I said, like, okay, I'm going to run. And in that moment, all the people that said that, they love my ideas and they wanted, to do all of this, wanted me to help them. They were like, no, we think we should, go with this guy. So that was very eye-opening for me, and it kind of how, as well, patriarchy works, and politics and all that. And a lot of, guys who were running for, student council in high school, and then they did the same in university, and then they will go to be politicians, right? So they have this like long career of doing this.
Right.
And it was kind of like, gave me just a little peek on that, right? So that was an experience.
Yeah, that's super formative. Okay. It's funny. I introduced you. I said your company. I never said your name. I never said your name. I never said Linda Espinosa Valencia. Thanks for coming to the podcast today. You brought so much magic, and I thought I'm going to let you go with a little bit of magic on my own.
Oh,
so this is a thing. I want you to write a number between 1 and 60. Do not show me one number, but between 1 and 60. You can show any of the cameras, and then I'll try to guess what the number is. So just hide it from me.
Okay, I'll show it to everyone.
Okay. So the number can be one. It's going to be in at least one of these cards, but it can be more than one. Okay. So I need your help here. Is it here? Your number?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I don't like when it's always the first one, but okay. Is it here?
Yep.
Huh. Okay. Is it here?
Nope.
No. Okay. Is it here?
No.
No. All right. Okay, so it's in this two. Is it here?
Nope.
Wow. Okay, is it here?
Yes.
Okay. I think I have it. So these are the three cards with your number. Is it 28?
Yes, it is 28. Oh my gosh.
The work you do is amazing, and I definitely have to, have a sit down and talk more about what you do with Ventura Collective. But I just want to say thank you for doing the amazing work, and thank you for coming to the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.